So membership. This is what this lesson for today, lesson 108 in Course in Miracles. It's about noticing, realizing that we are a part of this thing that all things are a part of. But this idea of membership, we can think about it in all sorts of different ways. The old church, the old Christian church used to always talk. There'd be songs about it, and there was a lot of talk about it, about being part of the body of Christ, being a member of the body of Christ. And in order for this to happen, uh, you as an aspiring member would have to make some sort of declaration. You make some sort of declaration. You may make an application. Join the membership rolls. We might want to talk about that. Maybe we need to do something like that. It's just a symbol, but maybe it's a helpful symbol for people to feel like they're part of the church, right? We really need to understand that it really just is a picture. It's a picture. It's a representation. The real membership is intrinsic and can't be taken away. But anyway, so the reality of it is that we're all members, whether we realize it or not, and and this is one of the things that Jesus said about this. He says we live and move and have our being in God, and so that means that we're a member in the whole of God. See, this is a very difficult idea to wrap your head around if you think that God is a big guy in the sky. If you think of God as being this father figure sitting on a cloud somewhere, it's difficult to be thinking about living and moving and having our being inside of that big figure, right? I mean, unless we thought of ourselves, there's another way to think about it. We can think of ourselves as being a thought in the mind of God. Then we could see God as this big, giant guy, and we're a thought running around in his head. It's one way to think about it. But the idea that we are a member of the all, a member of that we don't have to make pledges or promises, to think about ourselves as being integral to the mechanism. And this is like a kind of a Buddhist way of thinking about it. That there's this larger self that's real, that we're all a part of, and that the small self that we continually identify ourselves with is not. So I was thinking about it as a machine. It seems impersonal at first, but we think about ourselves as being this a cog in the machine, but an enlightened cog, an enlightened cog that can understand what's happening and then consciously interact for the good of the whole mechanism. I may not like that analogy, so to center ourselves and become comfortable with this idea, we have to start discarding the old ideas we had about other people being alien to us. We have to start to discard the ideas about us being in opposition to the world in general. If you go back and think about the Garden of Eden story, when Adam and Eve, and this it's an allegory, okay? It's a story. It's not history. But the whole idea was that they're sent out of the garden because they become disconnected to the garden. They become disconnected to all the life in the garden. They're not in harmony anymore. So that's why they have to leave. And one of the things that is made clear when they leave is that the ground is going to fight. Tell Adam, the ground is going to fight you. It's not going to give up its crops like before. You're not going to. It's going to be hard. And what Eve is told is you're going to bear your children in pain, and then both your children and your husband are going to break your heart. I mean, this is what's going to happen. This is your sentence until you return to this oneness. So from way back, so this is the explanation, of course, but it's also really helpful is to realize that a lot of people think about it as a punishment for them doing something. They're punished, but it's really more like a consequence. It's more like just a natural consequence of its cause and effect. The cause was they decided they were separate from life. And so then the consequence was they were separate from life. And this is so. But in order to get this idea of membership, we can start. One of the issues is what we did was we took this. We've taken this need to be a part of something that actually is an evolutionary thing for the body. In order for the body to survive and then procreate, the body had to figure out ways to combine, get together with other bodies for all sorts of different things. But survival, the biggest thing, right? So we evolved. The body evolves in a way that makes it imperative for us to become part of a group. So it's hardwired into us, and this is one of the reasons why sometimes we may find ourselves like it seems like we may be overly worried about what other people think about us. We might think that's a character flaw, that we're too worried. And if we see someone who we think who appears to not have that going on, like we see someone, we may want to emulate someone who really doesn't care what anybody thinks whatsoever. Well, that person who doesn't care what anybody thinks whatsoever, that person did not come from ancestors that didn't care about what other people think, because the only way that genetic line could have survived is to seek approval from the group. Now, there are some very unhealthy things that we may do to get that approval, but we need to understand that why we need it is it's in the genes. The genes are instructing us, be a part of. Now, here's the difficulty that we've gotten ourselves into. We've gotten ourselves into this thing about being a part of just our family. So first, it's like that's family first, right? Our family first. So we're going to be true, and we're going to be like very much connected to our family, and it's still quite popular for this idea that no matter what, we're going to take care of the family, even at the expense of other families. This is where now, again, for evolutionary purposes and for the extension of the genetic line, this idea actually was helpful. It's not helpful, though, for an ongoing spiritual evolution. We have to recognize it, accept it, and then try to move in another direction. So what we did, even naturally, what we did was we had this little group, and then we found out we had to have a bigger group because our family wasn't enough to protect us from everything that was going on in the world. In a primitive world, one little family is not enough. You need a group of families, so you need a tribe. So now we become members of a tribe in this, and then we would go and take things from other tribes, and that's how or if they came to take things from us, we would protect ourselves from other tribes. So this then we're very efficient, and we're very clever about this. So we realized that the bigger our tribe, the more effective we can be holding the stuff that we want to hold and getting more stuff from the other tribe. The bigger, more powerful our tribe. And so we extend out, and pretty soon we've got cities and states and countries, and so we find ourselves in a world in conflict, and it's still the same conflict that's been going on the whole time. It's still a tribal conflict. The way it works most effectively is if you can get the members of your tribe to think badly about the members of the other tribe. If they don't think badly about the members of the other tribe, then they won't perform the way they need to perform to do the things that the tribe mind thinks that needs to happen. So what has occurred is because now we've come to the point where this is actually not good for the whole anymore. Now there was, and I don't know. I think it could have happened a long time ago that we came to this idea, and I think there were a lot of people talking about it. We need to realize that there really is only one tribe. That's where we have to get to. We have to get from membership in this. So everything that we see in others that tells us they're different from us, these are the things we need to examine closely. Yeah, on the surface they're different, but not. And look, we need to remember, first of all, genetically hardwired. These things are part of how the body responds. And also our environment, the way we were brought up. All of us were brought up to see someone, some group in a bad light. Even if it wasn't intentional. It just happens. So this is where the whole idea of mindfulness comes in, where when these thoughts come to mind, when these bad feelings come, when we feel fear or alienation, where we just, a lot of times now, especially if we're trying to be liberal, let's say. If we're trying to, if we know that it's probably best if we were kind people, if we have it in our minds that really I shouldn't be feeling these bad things about these people that I don't even know, then anytime those kind of thoughts come to our mind, instead of accepting, examining, and trying to do something about replacing them with someone else, we push them away. No, that's not me. I did not think that. I don't want to think that. I'm getting, I'm just going to avoid it. So all these things, when they come up, and sometimes it's very shocking. We can be on a path where we think we've released all racism, we've released all this class consciousness and all this stuff, and all of a sudden find some voice from the past just spring up in our mind and go, oh, where did that come from? Well, it doesn't, wherever, notice that it came and deal with it. And so to start exchanging those ideas. So so I talk about Soylent Green. There's an old movie, Charlton Heston movie called Soylent Green. It's such a bad movie, you've probably never seen it if you're not of my age at least. It's really a bad movie. Okay, Charlton Heston is he's a cop in this future world, and where nobody's got a job. Where poverty is hardly anybody has a job, and when you have a job, it's like it's just like the most precious thing, and you do anything to keep your job, no matter what. It's just the mindset of the society. You do anything to keep your job. There's not enough food to go around. And so there's rationing going on, and they've got a program where when you get to a certain age, you just go and turn yourself into the authorities, and they euthanize you so that you can move out of the way for the next generation. Right? At a certain age, you just line up. Then they kill you. They got lines of people who have come of age, and they just kill them. And they say the reason that they're doing that is we have to conserve resources. So it's the best for the society for you to do this, and they actually convince people, and people think it's their duty, and they go and do it. They line up. And what ends up happening is that Charlton Heston discovers that what they're doing to the old people is turning them into food and giving back to the other people. So these people are encouraged to commit suicide, take the burden off society, and then secretly being made into food, and the food's called Soylent Green. And so this is this now. Is this a grim future possibility or just a bad movie? Well, what's happened? They show in the movie what happened is that they have an inability to grow food because we poison the planet. So in this case, we think about our membership as being we are a member of the land. We are a member of the planet. And think about the idea that the soil is like a placenta that nourishes us, right? And it nourishes all the life upon the earth. And so as being a member, we have a responsibility to care for it and guard it from harm so that we won't have to make old people into food. So that affirmation that goes along with this lesson is I'm one with the land. To think about being one, it's a holy idea that the indigenous people of the world have held forever, being one with the land. So even if we think about the world as just being a symbol, it is a symbol that we presently have to live with. However we do this in our mind, And then we have to realize that it's up to us. What kind of a symbol will it be? Well, is it going to be a symbol of abundance, or is it going to be a symbol of lack? In the world, all the green and growing things are intimately connected with us. Connected with us and the future of the symbol. And we're on some evolutionary track to go somewhere. I've got some ideas about it. I can't prove it. But so let's take care. Let's take care and remember that right now, for sure, we're one with the land. So I got another bad movie to talk about besides that. All right? It's here. Besides being one with the land, we're one with the creatures. Friday nights used to be on local TV channels. They would have things, and Saturday morning sometimes, creature features. It would show all the bad horror movies. Yeah, like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. The Thing from Another World. Them. How about Creature from the Black Lagoon? Yes, the Blob. So, this creature from the Black Lagoon, some of us may have an affinity for him. He was an amphibian. He was an outcast. Women were scared of him. He just didn't have very many good social skills. But now we can realize that there probably was never a creature like that. But if there was, he was our cousin. And this is the way to think about it. He was our cousin, one way or another. So all living things. See, this is all living things are related to us, and this really, this idea and this knowledge has not been known that long. This is like good news, because before we had the idea when we were sent out of the Garden of Eden that we're all in opposition to the world, right? We're in opposition to the world, but now we understand that really we're all related. That it's all connected. So we're all related. All of these living sentient beings are our cousins. And then the question comes up is should I eat my cousin? So now back in Soylent Green, we're eating the old people. Now we got to think about whether or not we should eat our cousin. And this is the whole basis for a lot of people to be vegetarian, because they're thinking shouldn't eat, anything with a face, right? So I don't know, but the Native American peoples and really all successful indigenous people in the world, as they took it as in the meditation, giving and receiving, that life gives to life, and they celebrated the life they took in their hunting with gratitude and honor. So that's one way to think about it. We had when I was in school, we had a minister who he's in Oak Park. We would go there, and they would serve dinner, and lunch and dinner every day we would get at the place, because we'd be there all day till dinner. And we were talking about this idea of eating your cousin. We were talking about this because it was Unity training, and Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who were the founders of Unity, they were vegetarians. And so I asked the minister about how come he was serving meatloaf. And he had a really simple answer. He said, it's all God. He says, it's all God. Don't worry about it. So now, there's some questions about our level of civilization. If you examine, really, and we're complicit in this, there's some really horrendous practices going on in the food industry, in the meat industry in particular. Okay, and if you really knew, if we were really familiar, we probably want to change. I'm just saying, you might want to investigate, but there's some really, really crazy stuff that's going on, and so I'm not telling you to become a vegetarian, because I'm still like a hamburger every once in a while myself. But part of being a member is to speak up and say, this isn't okay. This isn't okay. We don't want to participate in this. So you look at what companies are involved in really bad practice and stop supporting them. That's what I would suggest. So then finally, we're going to be one with the people. We'll be one with the people. To feel as if, this is difficult sometimes, because this is what I was saying. That's what I was saying to Dan on Friday. People are not cooperating. If they would just act right. So this is harder to accomplish. It's hard to accomplish. I don't have any problem feeling my oneness with the planet. I feel great affinity to all the animals on the planet, but every day I have problems feeling like I'm one with the people. With all the people, right? So, and it shows itself in so many ways. We may have hard feelings towards an individual. We may have built-in prejudices against groups of people. We may, and listen, this is what's going on all the time. Now, when I say that, you may think I'm talking about race, but it doesn't even have to be about race. Just watch the political contest that's going on. Everybody's trying to make people against the ones that they're against. So whoever it is, and you know what they said for many, many years, politics makes strange bedfellows. Here's the very interesting thing about this. That you could hear all sorts of different bad things about a particular person for months on end, and all of a sudden, those two become allies, and then they talk bad about somebody else. This is this basic way that our individual egos work. And if we understand how they work, then we can manipulate other people into doing things that we want them to do. What happens is, I feel like I'm alone. And remember, this is built in. Even if you don't think about it in terms of how the Course describes it, that we are the Son of God, fragmented and scattered. Even if you just think about it in an evolutionary way, my body has evolved to think it's under threat and to look for ways to be protected and to get what it needs. And so I think I'm alone, so I look for an ally. And this is all part of membership. I look for an ally. I need you to help protect me against you right now. And we could be getting along famously. And then you say something or do something or don't do something. And now I'm going to him. I'm going to tell him the whole story. Maybe not. Maybe I don't go to, maybe I'm so upset with you that I'm just not talking to you at all. But I'll go find somebody else to be my ally against you. Now, I may keep you as an ally against him because that's convenient. That serves my greater purpose, right? But I'm going to talk to you about you. This is built into us, and once we start noticing it, we can try to act better. We can try to change that kind of behavior. But many times we'll notice that we're doing it and we didn't even realize that we were doing it. We didn't even think we were gossiping. We didn't even think we were character assassinating. And all of a sudden we notice that this is what's going on. So what happens as a result of that being part of our evolution is that those who know how to manipulate it get us all worked up. First of all, they're saying, come join me. Come in our group. You are like us. You are like us. Come over here. Come over here with us because those ones over there, they're not like us. And I don't even have to tell you how you are. All I have to do is act like I know enough about you to get you to come over here. And so this is what happens. If we would just start to see and start working on this idea that we are all members of the same thing. Doesn't mean that we're going to agree about solutions for every issue that there is out there. But what happens when we do that, when we see that we're all part of the same thing, is we stop doing the character assassination. We stop doing all the cheap shot kind of thing, and we say, I may disagree. I disagree with what you have to say. I remember I was in a seminar, and was about conflict resolution. And one of the things that they said was, if someone says something that you disagree with, don't argue with them. Just say the simple thing, you may be right. Tell me more about that. So now, not that you're wrong. How many times you hear a political conversation going on where, man, they just at each other's, they're just like hitting. So instead of asking for a bit more of an explanation for what the person's position is, I'm just against it. I'm just against it. I'm going to fight you all the way. We know for sure that fighting against something actually gives that something more energy. So we stop and we say, you may be right. I know sometimes it's hard to get it out of your mouth. You may be right. Tell me more about that. And then after you listen, then say, wow, I never thought about it that way. Because you didn't. You're not lying. You're not manipulating. You didn't think about it that way because you disagree. You didn't think about it that way. But they may actually give you something that really was helpful. It could happen. If not, if you're of the same opinion, after you listen to everything that they have to say, then you say, but have you ever thought about it this way? And present your side. One of the problems is that we think we disagree with people and we have absolutely no understanding about the thing that we think we are disagreeing about. We just heard somebody else say it. So we just want to jump into the fight because we're generally disagreeable. Well, listen, we're running out of time. Here's what we're going to take away from this whole thing. We're precious. We're all precious. We're precious to the community. Sometimes we feel like we do not really have that good of a role to play in the community. In those moments, we remember that everyone is precious. And here's this grand idea of the common welfare. The common welfare is that we are all precious to the community and that no one can be sacrificed. We've talked about this theme before, the idea that this being a member is not hive mindset. It is not to say that we have some of our members that are less than, and so we can sacrifice them for the greater good. The whole idea of war, of organized military campaigns, is that this group of people are expendable for our purpose, for the greater good. The common welfare is not the greater good. Common welfare is what's best for everyone. And so we think about every member of the community as being precious. This is where I've talked about this before, about being a true conservative. I am a true conservative, and here's what I mean by that. Don't waste anything. Don't waste money. Don't waste food. Above all, don't waste people. This is where we forgot that we think we're a member of a small group, we're going to protect the small group. We're going to get, this is the reason. Even the people that are smart enough economically to know that what has happened to our economy, where there's so few have so much, even the people who have all of it, and they know they're not stupid people, they know that this system is now out of balance. But everyone is afraid to let go of their own piece of it. Let somebody else do it first. We're out of balance. We're out of whack. We've forgotten that every individual in the community is precious. We combine our efforts with those of others. First, we should probably be comfortable with ourselves and go out there and give what we have to the community. That adds to the common welfare. Doesn't mean marching in the street. It just means being helpful. It just means being of service. It just means speaking up. When we see something that just is not right, not to speak up angry and say, oh, we kill the people who are killing. To kill people, to teach people not to kill people, that's not going to work. But to say this is not right, this is not okay, and it's not good for the community of which we are a member. And the community that we are a member of is the whole world.